Hello, YouTube! My name is Scott, and welcome to another episode of Opinions No One Cares About, a video series that laughingly defies the YouTube algorithm. What the hell? So I want to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Chronicling the adventures of the Starship Enterprise under Captain Christopher Pike, Strange New Worlds has carved out its niche in the crop of current Trek shows by taking the bold stances of not throwing out too much fan service and being really well written. And the characters behind Captain Pike is, of course, his crew. Now, this show takes place not long before Jim Kirk becomes captain of the Enterprise, so there are a few familiar faces from TOS, such as Nurse Chapel, who's presented here with an actual personality besides I'm in love with Spock. There's Dr. Mbenga, Number One, Transporter Chief at this point, Kyle, Uhura, who was a cadet in the first season before being promoted to ensign, and of course Spock. Because, I mean, how can you have the Starship Enterprise without Spock? Well, yeah. Okay. I get it. Look, no, I understand, okay? I'm just talking about in this era. And of course, there are new characters to round out the cast. There's Lieutenant Ortegas, the hotshot helmsman. Security Chief Lieutenant Laan Noonien Singh, of the augmented eugenics wars causing Noonien Singhs. And of course, Chief Engineer Lieutenant Hemmer. What a raw deal this character got. Introduced at the beginning of the season, almost instantly loved, but only featured in about half the episodes before they killed him off. Now, I understand that the timeline of the show will eventually catch up to TOS, which means the chief engineer of the Enterprise will be the guy we all know and love, Montgomery Scott. But Hemmer could have had more than half a season! So who came along to replace Hemmer in this new season? That would be the subject of this video, Commander Pelia. It's hard to say whether she'll be as beloved as Hemmer yet, but boy are they trying. In her debut episode, Pelia realizes that Spock and the gang, minus Captain Pike for reasons, are trying to steal the Enterprise. And her response is basically, if you're going to do this, do it right. Side note, I know stealing the Enterprise is kind of cliche at this point, but it's not like Spock ever... No, wait, he did. He got court-martialed for it. No. Not going down that rabbit hole. I have a video to make. Okay, at this point, I need to put in a disclaimer. I had the idea for this video before a recent episode of Strange New Worlds completely destroyed it. But I feel like it's too good of an idea not to use, so I'm just running with it. If you don't like it, I don't know, pretend I'm Alternate Timeline Scott or something. Hey, I'm Alternate Timeline Scott. Not now! So besides being cool enough to want to steal a starship, Pelia is interesting in another way. She's a member of a previously unknown race of aliens called Lanthanites. As you can see from the picture, they look basically exactly like humans. No brow ridges or oddly shaped ears here. But they're also extraordinarily long-lived. In her words, essentially immortal. In fact, that's part of why she helped steal the Enterprise.
You want to know the worst thing about living almost forever? It's boredom.
There's a really great exchange between Pelia and Spock in between those clips, but before that, Spock says something else.
I've always been fascinated by your people. That you managed to live on Earth among other humans undetected until the 22nd century is remarkable.
Now, isn't that interesting? Lanthanites had been on Earth for who knows how long, and they weren't discovered until roughly a century prior to this. Which begs the question, does Pelia know Guinan? Actually, there are a lot more questions that would come up, but I'd be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that members of two different long-lived alien species who can pass for human had been walking around on Earth for centuries. Also, in the TOS episode A Requiem for Methuselah, we meet this man named Flint, who is centuries old and was apparently some of the more influential men in Earth history, including Brahms and Da Vinci. Now, it's been theorized that he is also a Lanthanite, but since he lost his immortality when he left Earth, according to him, and Pelia seems to have no problem traveling to other planets, I don't think he qualifies. But one of the better questions raised by the Lanthanites' longevity is, just how long has Pelia been on Earth? Well, there's a theory that puts her here as recently as the late 1970s, in the vicinity of a taxicab company in Manhattan. the Sunshine Cab Company to be exact, from the TV show Taxi, a show that focused, oddly enough, on the lives of taxi drivers. Who would have thought? But it wasn't just the drivers, you see. There was also a mechanic named Lotka from...
someplace far away. Yes, that will do.
Lotka's home country is never specified. But he does eventually develop a relationship with, and eventually marry, a young woman from the same country named Simka. Look familiar? Sounds familiar too.
You must confess your sin, and whatever he advises, we must obey.
I'm not implying anything. I'm flat out saying someone violated about 17 Starfleet regulations.
And it's said that Simka, later called Pelia, developed her love of engineering whilst being married to a car mechanic. True? Maybe. And yes, I did just use the word whilst, because I'm cultured as fuck. But I like to think I can place Pelia here a little bit earlier than that. By, like, a few centuries. What are you gonna do? Call me a liar?
Liar! Liar! Liar!
That's right, Pelia has been around since at least medieval times. Now, you could make the argument that this doesn't really hold up because Florin and Gildor aren't actual places. But I would like to point out that this guy is Spanish, this guy is Sicilian, this guy was unemployed in Greenland, and we were warned about avoiding one of the classic blunders.
Never get involved in a land war in Asia.
But why, you probably ask, would Pelia be involved with Miracle Max with his miraculous ways if she goes on to be an engineer? Is it because, like everyone else at the time, she had a healthy belief in the supernatural? No, it's the fact that Miracle Max doesn't actually do magic. Check this out.
Think it'll work?
It would take a miracle.
This says to me that Miracle Max doesn't actually do magic. He's a brilliant scientist living in a highly superstitious time. Arthur C. Clarke said, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And Max developed medicine, not magic, that counteracted Rogan's life-sucking device and kept Wesley from dying. Which I think is proven by the fact that, unlike magic, it didn't work immediately.
Why won't my arms move?
You've been mostly dead all day.
So Pelia, as Valerie, and suitably disguised to blend in with her husband, was working in science as early as the medieval period, and was clearly smart enough to get out of Dodge when the anti-witch hysteria came along, since she was a woman who knew how to do things. So there you have it, folks. Pelia the Lanthanite, new chief engineer of the Enterprise and one of the earliest advocates for women in STEM, who may have possibly also gotten a little too into 80s drugs?
I'm the ghost of Christmas present.
Maybe Lanthanites can fly, too. You don't know. Hey, everybody. Thanks for sticking around once again until the end of my latest video. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, you know all the usual YouTube stuff to do. You know, drop a like, leave a comment down below, share it around, please. Subscribe if you feel so inclined. Hit that button below for notifications for when another video goes up. I know this is like the first Trek video I've done in a while, especially considering I was foreshadowing it, I think, back at the beginning of my season. But there is at least one more coming, maybe two. I just got to get to work on it. I mean, one of them is started, so, you know, in the script writing stage, so progress, right? Anyway, until next time, I have been Scott, and this has been Opinions No One Cares About. Everyone has opinions. This one was mine.